Hey, how are y'all doing today? Okay. Well, whenever you see this, please remember at some point to get up, to stretch a little bit, to drink some water, take your meds if that applies to you, eat something if you can. And I hope that you remember that you are loved, you matter. I'm so glad you're here with me. And I hope that you have a good day. Or, do what you need to do to survive the day. Cheers. So, this is the canvas that I'm going to be doing this art piece on. And I don't have any concepts to show you or a Pinterest board or anything. I probably should do a little bit more research when it comes to planning my art projects. I spend a lot of time thinking about it and writing, but not a lot of visual prep. And we're at the part that I'm the most nervous about, which is cutting the canvas. Because once I cut it, that's it. Even though the piece is centered around brokenness and imperfection, somehow I think there's a right way to break the canvas. And there really isn't. I'm also stressing because I'm not gonna have time to go back and redo this. I go back to work tomorrow and all the work stuff, plus I have this stack of books that I want to read. This isn't even all my old TBR pile. I have audiobooks waiting for me. I have a couple of ebooks that I'm reading. I have another stack of library books on the dresser. And then on top of that, I also am taking this class, which hopefully I will be fully doing after this whole going back to school thing. And I get myself in these situations where I have so much that I want to do, and I don't have time to do it all. Does that ever happen to you? It's like my, I don't know, maybe it's an ADHD thing. Just the coming up with so many things to do. And that's not even counting work, being a dad, all of that. And I just get myself super overwhelmed. And I kind of about a week ago, I was like, something's got to change because I want to do these things. I want to be creative. I want to write and make videos and obviously, spend time with my kids and with my wife and, do well at work. But sometimes I get so fixated on productivity and my routines and all that's good. But I think there's such a thing as too much productivity. There's a point where I start treating myself like a machine, where I go from wanting to live a meaningful life with purpose to being this anxiety-riddled, productivity thing, and it's just so frustrating. So I don't know what I want, but I definitely want something deeper than the way I've been living. Oh, there we go. All right. So the concept for this piece is that it's going to be cut open, but then I want to peel back and actually have something coming out of the canvas. So I don't know if you remember my piece last year where it was golden, there were ripped pieces, and this dark fabric was spilling out. This time I want to focus on I don't know, this idea that this is my thread. This giant tangled. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so instead of my original thought was that it would be about, about healing and stitching up the canvas in the sense of healing the wound. And while I do still like that idea, I also kind of thought, there's another way to look at this, because as an autistic adult with ADHD, I was undiagnosed for most of my life. I only got diagnosed a few years ago. When am I, 43? I turned 44 in a few months. I was diagnosed when I was 39. And so much of the things that turned out to be my ADHD and my autistic traits that made me feel broken, right? Like damaged. And a lot of my attempts were to cover up those things. And in doing so, I kind of was missing out on the opportunity to let something new, grow, right? And so instead of trying to cover up my autism or my ADHD or whatever, I am now trying to celebrate what makes me different, and almost in a weird sort of way, like opening up these wounds and planting something new, like this YouTube channel, right? Like my blog. So just anyway, and so the idea was like, what if we focus on, like, what if the stitching closed of what we perceive as our wounds and our brokenness, what if it's actually hiding an opportunity to grow something new? What if something new wants to grow out of that moment, was kind of the thought. So I wanted stitches, but I want the stitches to actually be the problem. Anyway, that's the idea. What was I saying earlier? Oh yeah, so this whole productivity thing, right? Like, I want to get this art piece done, I want to read these books, I want to maximize what I'm doing, but am I really living a meaningful life in the process? And I don't think I am. And so I've been thinking about a different word besides productivity, which is devotion, right? Like right now, I am devoting my time to working on this art piece. I'm devoting my time to making a video and talking to you about what I'm doing. And yes, you could argue, well, isn't that the same thing as being productive, right? But I guess my thought process was, I do believe that devoting myself mindfully to what I'm doing, I believe that can cause me to be productive. But I don't think that productivity is the same as devotion, if that makes sense at all. So before I start replanning my, looking at my goals and all that fun stuff, which is coming up in the summer solstice, I guess I wanted to take a moment to ask myself, am I being mindful? Am I living, or am I just rushing from one thing to the next? Because I feel like I've been doing a lot of just the rushing from one thing to the next. So I want to wrote about it. I wrote this out in my blog, where sometimes it's a lot. Sometimes I need to talk things out. Sometimes I need to write things out. This is one where I wrote things out. So if you follow me on my blog, then you would have seen that post come out. If not, I recommend it. Because like I said, there's some things that I write there where the thoughts are a little more fleshed out than right now. Anyway, so I'll try to do a close-up of this here so you can kind of see what this is going to look like with this cut open and stitch, but this one's mostly just going to be a stitched shut part, and then the slashes down here is where I plan on putting stuff behind it. And like with the reading, it's like mathematically impossible to read all the books I want to read before I die. It's mathematically impossible for me to complete everything that I want to complete before I die. And that brings a lot of stress, you know? And so again, you know, I'm talking about focusing, and here I am trying to talk to you about my inability to focus while I'm trying to focus on stitching this shut. But I knew it was going to be I don't know, not a very exciting activity, and I was afraid I was going to get bored, and so I wanted to talk to somebody, so I thought I'd talk to you guys. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, bees. So I was outside and I saw some, you know, those big fat, maybe they're called carpenter bees, I don't know, but the big round bees. And I was watching them as they worked their way through the flowers, and they were definitely industrious, but they didn't seem stressed. Their movements didn't appear frantic, unless they felt like they were in danger. And I was like, that's the kind of productivity I want. You know, like a bee just calmly, methodically going about the things that matter. I thought that was so cool. And so yeah, when I say I want to kind of think about devotion, you know, I'm going to devote my time, like maybe even set like a focus for that week, you know? Like maybe just pick one book and say, this is the book I'm reading, and not try to bounce from one book to the next, though sometimes that's what my ADHD needs, because sometimes the book I'm reading I can't focus on in that moment. I don't know. Have you dealt with this? Having more you want to do than you have time to get it done? And do you have an approach? Are you able to just say, well, I'm going to do this, and then that's it? Or do you ever get paralyzed by all the things you want to do? Let me know. I'd appreciate any advice or feedback you might have. Because, like I said, I want a more mindful, calm, relaxed approach to all the things I want to do with my life, in spite of whatever challenges I might have. All right. Let's grab the camera so you can get a closer look at this. That's the slash with the stitching. And then I just have to finish that part up there. The needle I'm using, I don't know, like maybe it's an upholstery needle? I don't know, but it's C-shaped and it's perfect for this kind of work. I just call it a C-shaped needle, which is so non-specific. Anyway, so yeah, I like where it's going so far. Well, if you're still here, thanks as always for listening to me ramble and talk through my life. Share any thoughts you might have. Oh, and it's time for my next adventure. All right, friends. I love you. Take care of yourselves.